The only constant is change.
Bruno, thanks so much for having me here today on the campus where you're going to be hosting Orange Open Tech. I'm feeling the buzz, the excitement. You're going to be bringing your entire ecosystem. We're going to be talking about technology, innovation. But before all these people show up, I want to dig your brain. I want to open up that crystal ball. You're head of innovation. Tell me about the future. Before I go into that, I'm going to ask you a very personal question. Technology is evolving at an incredible pace. How has your day-to-day changed? How are you using technology now?
Actually, I tend to use OpenAI most of the time, but I have now opened up my use of other LLMs, Mistral, Gemini, Grok. And the primary use is not so much to do my work yet, but it's to compile information from the outside. It's really important to have what we used to call a Reader's Digest. For me, that has become an AI one. And it allows me to really process information much faster. And it's an incredible time saver.
I have a quick question for you, and it's not an easy question. How do you define innovation?
So I think there's a lingering expectation that innovation means disruption. And I think that's not necessarily the case. When I think about innovation, I think about a wide spectrum of innovation use cases, from like very incremental, continuous innovation, which is, by the way, the one I tend to believe the most in. And then from time to time, something happens, there's a disruption, like LLMs are a disruption. But I really love incremental innovation. I love continuous innovation because it's a mindset, because this is the one that every day when you wake up, you want to do things slightly better. You want to be more effective. You want to try to figure out, hey, can I use my mobile network in the way that I'm going to increase the coverage and the user experience with the same given capacities? Is there a way of doing this? Can I use AI, for instance, to make sure I can redirect a radio beam to a certain audience so that they get the best possible experience? And I could not do that the year before. I always love this metaphor that what we do at Orange, and we do something that's crazy. If you think about, like, for instance, like a beltway where you have like all of those cars, think about this. What if you could double every year the number of cars on that beltway?
That, by the way, that's not where you were talking earlier to me about sustainability.
But think about it. You're doubling the number of cars. Yeah. You're doubling the size of those cars.
Yeah.
And you are reducing CO2 emissions. If someone could pull that off, what would you say? It's just amazing, right? No traffic jam. That's what we do. This is the kind of innovation we do all the time. People take it for granted. It's so transparent to our customers that they take it for granted. It's just an amazing thing that we do.
Is it a problem that they take it for granted, whereas other actors in the tech world are viewed as?
I think they are like parts of what people expect when something has become so core to your daily life, like electricity, water, connectivity. People, they don't even want to think about what if this thing would stop working. Like, for instance, people don't want to wake up one day and realize they don't have access to water and electricity. Same thing with connectivity. This is the kind of expectation where, to some extent, they are not thinking about it because it's so critical to their life, right? It's a very anxiety-prone thought to think about, what if I would lose my connectivity? The world would be very different. So no, they don't think about it that much. They take it for granted, and I think it means we have become essential.
In the background.
In the background.
But essential.
Essential in the background for the core connectivity. There are so many other things that they don't take for granted yet, which are very exciting as well.
So in that world, thinking about, because what's unique about Orange is you have a lot of partnerships. You're really about building ecosystems. You have your researchers, but you work with startups. And in this AI world, there's a lot of criticism right now or people commenting, is there an AI bubble? And not really questioning so much the underlying technology, but maybe the financing models right now. We know, people are, the same big actors are investing in certain companies who are then going to be their clients, this whole sort of loop. Your role is to sort of make sense of what's really disruptive and like, how do I not fall in the hype? But you're also, you have to be sensing what's right or wrong. And I'm just curious about, how do you think about this? How are you identifying the right partners to work with, bringing the right ideas to your partners? Because I think that's sort of the role you have to play, or you're trying to play in innovation.
So maybe the way to answer that question is to talk about the journey towards getting to a point where you feel you can make sound decisions. First of all, it starts with a huge amount of humility. We don't know what we don't know. The goal is to know what we don't know and then to know more.
I'm coming here for you to tell me the crystal ball in the future, because that's what you live and breathe.
Yeah, but I will get there. But essentially what we do is we are extremely paranoid about the things that we might not know. A year ago, we thought that the only way we were going to build a robust LLM was by investing hundreds of billions of dollars or euros, and then something came from China, DeepSeek, and they completely changed the game. And in many ways, DeepSeek was influenced by Mistral, mixture of experts, a new way of building models that was way more efficient. If you are ignoring that fact, then you are building a business model based on something that makes no sense. And a few months later, your business model is completely reset by this new data point. So you have to be completely up to speed all the time. We are really trying to open up the number of partners we have discussions with. We have an incredible research organization because we're not playing checkers, we're really playing chess. And we have to anticipate not just what's going to happen in 6 months, which is already of a tall order, but moving beyond that, we have to understand what lies ahead 1 or 2 or 3 years ago. You've heard about agentic AI.
Right.
How those agents are going to talk to each other. What if you have an agent that runs on OpenAI, the other one runs on Mistral? They were trained on different models. Do they have a common language to speak to each other? And our research is working on that. It's called semantic communication, for instance. So we were getting a sense of what are the issues. And then what about security? Our research is working on that as well. So what we're doing is we are really building at Orange an incredible ecosystem of very advanced institutions that have really incredible expertise, like the most renowned universities, for instance. We have an incredible research organization, and we have built an incredible ecosystem of partners, not just the big one, the big names, but also startups that are emerging. And by doing this, we are developing a 360 view, understanding of what's going on. Plus, we have our own compass. We have a set of what are the expectations that we have in mind for our customers. We know our customers. We talk to them. We know what they want. They want to be protected from those fake videos. And I don't know if you've been playing with Sora. It has become scary good. It's just incredible. They want to make sure that they are not talking to people that don't exist and then they get scammed. They want to make sure that they have access to this technology in a way that's really safe. We want to make sure we can give access to those services with the right price point. So it's a universal access to AI. So all of those things is coming together will allow us to get of a broader picture. And then we are very open-minded to the idea that in 6 months, we're going to have to update, maybe even before that, frankly.
Just nothing is set in stone.
No, the only constant is change.
One of the things that's been interesting to me recently is looking at where the value capture is in the AI stack.
Yeah.
So on one hand, right now, we're really seeing a lot of investment and all the value seems to be going to sort of the infrastructure players.
Yeah.
We also hear very often that, it's at the application level that the value is going to be. Yet if I look at the stocks of some of those companies right now, they're not at all where they were a few years ago. Sort of, where do you think value is going to be down the road in this, if we look at the AI stack? And also maybe where does Orange fit in that value?
So 2 data points. NVIDIA is worth $5 trillion. OpenAI when they signed the deal with Microsoft 2+ years ago, Microsoft invested $10 billion to get almost 50%, which means that the company was worth $20 billion. They have invested $137 billion to only have 25% stake, which means now OpenAI is worth $500 billion. So their market cap has been multiplying by 25. And it was already crazy when it was announced that it was 20 billion. So it's just crazy. So right now, if you look at the capture, the value capture, it's the subscription of ChatGPT, which is far ahead of anyone else, really, and growing very, very fast. Although I really believe that Grok is going to be very successful. There are a lot of people that are using this. If you look at the trend, it's going up. Anthropic is monetizing as well, fairly well with coders because it's considered to be maybe the best model, but it's a smaller population. But they are paying more, but it's a smaller population. On the consumer side right now, it's OpenAI. Then you have NVIDIA. At the end of the day, whatever you do, you give money to NVIDIA. So the question is NVIDIA the new Cisco? Like 25 years ago, the highest market cap was Cisco at the height of the internet bubble. And then it collapsed. I think NVIDIA is more than Cisco because NVIDIA has been developing a development environment called CUDA. And for like many, many years, and really leveraging their background in parallel processing in 3D and what they've done with GPUs, not just gaming, but it's been used by many professionals way beyond gaming. And so then it turned naturally into becoming a great development environment for AI and building models. As long as they have that kind of a grip on the development community of models, they will continue to capture a lot of the value. Now, the other part of your question, how is this going to evolve? I think this is going to evolve in multiple ways. So NVIDIA is not going anywhere. OpenAI is not going anywhere. I think the question is, when you look at the B2B side of things, so development, coders, that's already happening. That revolution is taking place. Now, what about HR? What about finance? What about processes? What about our network automation, right? At Orange, how do we do things differently? That is happening. And it's really more of a vertical AI, applied AI use case. To do that, you have to get the LLM, which is a generic LLM, and you have to train it even more on those new use cases. Because a generic LLM is great to tell you when Martin Luther King was born or something like that, but it's not great to tell you how to manage your network. Right. Because it was not trained in the first place. That data was not accessed. That data set was not on the internet that it had access to. So now what we do, we get access to those models, and we have to collaborate with those LLM providers to turn them into something special. That process is not smooth yet. And the question is, once you've done this new training, like let's say you've built the best LLM for like network management, network automation, does it only work for Orange, or can you use it like for other telcos? Right. If you solve, I don't know, like the finance part of a company, is it so specialized for a company, or can you reuse it for others? Can you become the SAP of AI, for instance? That is not super clear. I know where the industry would love to go. They want to make sure that they can productize verticals. Same thing with biotech, for instance. So that's not completely clear. Now, if you talk about infrastructure, if you talk about network connectivity, today the kind of AI paradigm we're in has not really been distorting, changing, affecting the way we think about our network design as much. Why? Because it's very often text-based. Right. You are just chatting with an application that is in California. That's not a big deal. Now, that is evolving because you're no longer just doing text. You're going to switch to audio. Even audio is not such a big deal. But then you are going to have a multi-model where it's going to be video. And this is going to be video that you want to upload to the network. When we tend to download more than we upload, that becomes a bit more new. And then if you are wearing those augmented glasses, you might want to have an always-on analysis of what you're seeing. And that means that you have expectations of high quality on demand, all of those things all the time. It's not just about raw bandwidth. which is like the commodity part of connectivity, it becomes much more quality of service centric. When that happens, then it becomes very clear that the network takes, the connectivity plays a very different role. Now, this is the thing that is interesting. When we think about AI today, we think about LLMs, we think about north-south traffic. South is the end user, north is the data center. Right. Again, could be in California or pick another region. But what if tomorrow I really want to have robots? I want to have drones. I want to have more of a distributed AI paradigm. Yeah. I want to have physical AI. The AI that you have today does not understand the world. When you are watching a video of Sora, it's just based on probability, but it has no understanding of the video it's generating. To really understand how water is supposed to drop, and you're supposed to accelerate when you are jumping because of gravity, you need something else. You need physical AI, which is what you need for robots. When that happens, it becomes a distributed AI. In this case, the compute has to be very close. It has to be on the device itself, which is really the close to you, but there has to be another edge where you have more advanced processing and cannot be thousands of miles away. And in this case, we have to become a platform to host those AI workloads at the edge of our network as well.
So that is a huge area of focus right now.
That is hard because we know that's going to happen. We don't know if it's going to be 2030 or 29 or 2029 or 2032. We have to be careful about the use cases. So we're trying to work with the other telcos. We're trying to work with the hyperscalers, the software companies, to get a sense of how this is going to happen. I was in China a week ago because they tend to be ahead of Europe in some use cases, trying to get a taste of what's going to happen, for instance. And so this is the part, going back to your question, do we have a crystal ball? We're trying to get a sense of those use cases that are emerging.
Quick, you said you just went to China. There's a lot, and Orange has taken a very big stance about sovereignty. We're talking about all these LLMs. You talked about DeepSeek. How do you work closely actually with OpenAI, Mistral? Do you work with the Chinese? When do you decide? There's a whole new context, I think, that's happening today, and I'm curious. You have to take into account geopolitical questions that maybe somebody in your role 20 years ago didn't, 30 years ago. Like, how are you thinking about these?
So the thing that people don't understand is that we are a French company in France. We are a Moroccan company in Morocco. And we are an Egyptian company in Egypt. Yeah. So we have common values, obviously, because we're a group and we have a backbone that we share in terms of values, but the regulations are not the same. So for instance, we can use Chinese company in some parts of our network in some countries, but not in France in some other parts of the network. So we have to be very agile, right? We're trying as much as possible to find synergy across different countries, but sometimes we have a different environment with different ecosystems. The hyperscalers that we have, for instance, in Europe are not available in MEA. Yeah. So we just have to adapt to that. Now, going back to the notion of sovereignty, it's really specific to the country where we operate. If for instance, I'm zooming in on Europe, then I have to think about France and Spain and Poland, Romania, Belgium, all of those other countries. I'm trying to understand if I'm building a tech stack, a technology stack, is that a sovereign tech stack? If I use NVIDIA, it's an American piece of technology manufactured in Taiwan. Can I build something sovereign if there is NVIDIA? Right. Well, if you listen to some of our partners, they say, yes, you can, because there's nothing dangerous about using an NVIDIA chipset. Tomorrow, they might decide to become very expensive. Right. But what about an LLM? Can I use an American LLM, for instance, or a Chinese LLM? That becomes a bit more complicated because the LLM, first of all, very often does not run in our infrastructure. It runs remotely. So there is the concern about the data. Maybe it can be used by the Chinese government, the US government. So what if I use now that LLM in my data center,
Yeah.
well, I still can't open an LLM and audit an LLM because an LLM is a black box. I can test the LLM. I can use an LLM to actually test my LLM, but I don't have access to the code. There's no code. It's just a neural network. And the tools today, and we're working with startups to change that, but the tools today do not exist to understand what's inside an LLM. So if you give me an LLM, I'm not afraid of that LLM doing like, how do we say that, a phone home back to the country where it was designed and share data. That it's very unlikely that it's possible because an LLM is just a neural network. It's not a binary. But what it can do is it could potentially influence your company in very strategic directions when you're going to ask questions.
Right.
And that's the part that we can't really test. So that is the reason why sovereignty becomes a bit more nuanced. At the very least, if I'm using a non-French model, I want to make sure that the data stays, that I'm not running that model remotely. But then there is the notion of trust. Like when we work with Mistral, for instance, that's great because it's a model that was designed by a French company. So at the end of the day, it's all about the control points. What do you want? And that is not a discussion that we have alone. That's really a set of pros and cons. Do you want to have access to maybe the technology that you think is the best? But in this case, are you willing to give up on a few things? And then what we do fairly well at Orange, both on the consumer side or with Orange Business, is to educate our customers with multiple choices, multiple scenarios where we are very transparent about the level of sovereignty, because there's also a cost associated to it. Yeah. And so I think it becomes a complex problem to solve, but we've spent so much time on it that now we have what we call reference architectures. We know the control points. We know what you give up. And if you want to have you're the most sensitive company in the world with no sensitive data, everything needs to stay under your control with a French LLM. We also know how to do that.
So, and I know we're sort of tight on time right now, but I focus a lot. AI is making the headlines. I focused on AI, sort of fell down that path. You have more than 800 researchers here. Innovation is coming from many different areas. Maybe AI is helping us accelerate some of it. Question around, for instance, quantum. There's a lot of talk about, is it going to be here in 5 years, 10 years? People are afraid about what it's going to mean in terms of cybersecurity. But really, for you, quantum, is it really more about suddenly the possibility to do real scientific advances? Like, where do you want to see our energy being put?
So let me give you a tactical answer and then a more strategic answer, maybe. I think today our number one use case for quantum is, unfortunately, it's not quantum computing. It's really quantum cryptography. And it's to make sure that the data that we have been encrypted can be captured, collected, and maybe in 10 years, they become very easy to analyze. So we want to make sure, first of all, that in this new future world where we're going to have quantum computing, we are also protecting the data. And so we're doing also other things. We're using quantum technology to make sure that we know if people have been snooping on our network. And our research team has been working with the standard body and really contributing a lot. We've made some announcements a few months ago in that regard. But really, what I like about your question is, you're talking about cybersecurity, you're talking about AI, talking about quantum technology. If you really pay attention, those are like the disruptive fields right now in the realm of technology. There's something that is very different from what we've been having fun with for the last 25 years around the internet. All of those technology fields are extremely science-based, science-centric. It's all about mathematics. It's all about physics. And this is back to the 50s, where technology was, if you think about semiconductor, it was essentially based on quantum technology. We're back to that. And it has not been the case for 25, 30 years. The way we've been training engineers has been all about, can you essentially be a great technician? Can you produce code? Can you generate code? I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit, but clearly, if you look at just the volumes of engineers we've been creating or generating for across the world for the last 20, 25 years, it's been around computer science and generating code. I believe that there is a singularity that's happening. We are going back to the era of science. Science is going to be much more connected to the technology that we're going to be generating. And when something like that happens, you really want to have a research organization. You really want to have a relationship with the best schools. You really want to have the people that have a strong background in mathematics, in physics. And that's completely new. And the fact that we have hundreds of researchers
already here
at Orange already here will prove to be an incredible asset.
I mean, you're right that you look at all the graduates from the top engineering schools in the U.S. this past year are not finding jobs because have we been sort of developing the wrong talent, focused on the wrong type of talent. So with that, you mentioned something about having a very strong scientific background, and really the push of science. Is there another aspect in the future of talent that we need to be thinking about, which is around, do you expect a lot more discussions being around ethics, philosophy? Are people going to have to be able to have that sensitivity as well in the future when we're talking about innovation?
We have to tell our customers that we as Orange, that they can trust they can trust us. It's about trust. And going back to being paranoid about technology, but embracing it at the same time, I have a very optimistic view about the future because we are doing the right thing to protect ourselves from making those terrible mistakes. We have an ethics committee at Orange where we have like scientists, philosophers, very educated people that have a very different background. They are not necessarily coming from the world of technology. And when we have to make big decisions, we brainstorm with them, we talk to them, we're really trying to balance, obviously, the notion of it has to make business sense, but it also has to make sense from the perspective of our values, from our ethics. So for us, it's at the core of the way we make decisions. Sometimes it can be very practical, we believe in frugal AI. We announced that last year before DeepSeek made their announcement. We believe in data privacy. We also are very concerned about LLMs that have very dangerous biases. So all of those things we're paying immense attention to.
I love it that you're full of energy. There's a lot of this research, strong research arm. You're really trying to build this whole ecosystem. But I'm going to sort of challenge you. Your event is in a few days. You bring on these partners. Europe today is not considered to be the powerhouse in innovation. A lot of people will say telco is the plumbing. How are you going to break out of that perception that as a French telco, that you are the leading actor partner to be working with to move forward in innovation? Because I think that's something people often, as I said, I'm using the Europe, telco, are two words that people are not associating with cutting edge technology and innovation.
So you kept the easiest question for the end?
Of course.
Thank you. Listen, at the end of the day, the key word in open tech is open. We are embracing that ecosystem. We are very lucky. We live at a time where the technology is being shared. We have open source initiatives everywhere. Many of those models are available through, they are open weight models that we can use, we can play with. Many of the technology that the hyperscalers have been using for many years are open source. The most important thing for us is to also learn about their culture. What has it been to be really agile? What is DevOps? How do you implement continuous innovation? And how do you do that in a way that is appropriate for a company like Orange? We are in the midst of that transformation, and we are the people of Orange are embracing that change. They are embracing partnerships. They have this open mind. And so we are changing not because we are reinventing everything, it's because we're partnering. The Legos that we're using now to build our solutions are way more powerful than the Legos we used to have because we're using the best Legos. And those Legos come from the best company, come from the open source community. So I think the answer is we are going to close the gap with other industry, with the Chinese, with the Americans, by working with them, learning and then adapting. And then when it comes to really Europe and European sovereignty, it's going to take a while before we get our own NVIDIA chipset. We already have our own LLM. So I think we need to have kind of a long-term planning strategy for Europe. Like the Chinese have been very good. They always have a 5-year plan. I think we need to do more of that. But at the same time, being very agile, very pragmatic, and working with the very best to learn.
All right. Well, good luck with your event. And I hope a lot of incredible innovation partnerships will be coming out of it.
This is going to be an incredible open tech event. So I'm sure everybody's going to have a great time. Thank you very much, Joanna.
Thank you.